I'll talk more about the castle in a moment because you're probably distracted by the large glowing trees in this image. Why, hello there. It is 111 days until Elden Ring comes out on January 21st, 2022, and this is the Elden Wait. Today on the Elden Wait, we will be talking about the latest Elden Ring tweet, which includes a new screenshot. Let's get into it. So the quote accompanying this new screenshot says, "Friendship among Tarnished is a cherished gift in this fierce land." So we have our co-op gang here, and for the purposes of this discussion, we are assuming that these are other players. We do not know if there were multiplayer NPC summons, but we do know you can have up to 2 summons for co-op play in Elden Ring. And in Elden Ring, it seems like there's a reddish-orange hue that is given for player summons. On the Elden Ring subreddit, Vadi commented that the color shown here is redder than what he recalled from the closed-door demo he saw during Gamescom, and that the aura around them shimmered and at times was hardly visible. So as you can see in the shot, it's, very much saturating the color of their armor, but Vadi is thinking that perhaps this is more intense than what he saw during the gameplay demo. And I think this more intense color is probably a result of lighting or whatever color correction was done for the screenshot versus a change in the appearance of co-op summons. So let's take a look at this co-op gang. The host player is wearing armor we have seen before, but the summons are wearing the more interesting armor. The first off to the right is the first heavy armor we've seen really for players in the game, with this very bulky plate armor, and it features an outrageous hat with a visor above the brim. What do you think? Do you think that this visor is non-functional, or that the brim of this hat is below the eyes? Let me know in the comments what you think. And it has also been noted that this guy is wearing spurs, but that was common for people riding horses to have spurs on their shoes so that they could help direct the horse while they're riding. The other summoned player is wearing samurai armor straight from Sekiro. We have seen other vaguely Japanese-inspired character designs, such as the moon boss from the leak trailer, but this samurai armor is straight up Japanese samurai armor, which is awesome and intriguing. We have seen no Japanese architecture or other Japanese flair in the game, so this is indicative of an area we either haven't seen, or these Japanese-inspired character designs are a nod towards perhaps an outside force. I'll be very interested to see how it all comes together. Next, I'd like to talk about the details of the landscape, and I think it would make sense to first triangulate ourselves relative to other images we've seen and the shots from the gameplay trailer. In this main image with the Erd tree to the right and Stormveil Castle to the left, take note of this mountain off to the right with this distinct bull-like structure near the top. Now moving to this image, we see the Erd tree and Bull Mountain on the left-hand side of the screen, so we are moving away from Stormveil Castle and toward the Erd tree. Beyond the Erd tree, looking closely, we can see a large tree and some ruins in the distance. This brings us to the latest image, and we can now see that these ruins and tree are much closer and off to the left, indicating the Erd tree and Bull Mountain are relatively close directly behind us in this shot. In fact, I think we could even be on Bull Mountain in this image. Directly before us, we see this large elevated castle in the distance that we have seen before in the gameplay trailer here. We can spot these ruins and this meandering path in the latest image, placing that shot from the trailer down here. I'll talk more about the castle in a moment because you're probably distracted by the large glowing trees in this image. Because we have triangulated the location of this shot, we can see that the tree near the ruined church is not glowing in the gameplay trailer in any of the shots we've seen it in. So what makes these trees glow? It doesn't seem tied to the time of day, so our options without further information are that it could be tied to weather, or that it could be tied to certain events or flags in the game. I am more inclined to believe that the glowing effect on these trees are tied to events in the game, and perhaps are even another form of guidance, but that is just my guess. Let me know what you think in the comments. And before moving on, I want to say that while these trees are large, they are much smaller in scale than the Erd tree, and they appear to be physical trees, while the Erd tree is fully glowing, even on its trunk, and is translucent, giving a more ethereal look overall. Okay, now let's talk about the castle in the distance. From this angle, we get a much better idea of just how large the castle is, and you can see the golden touches throughout the architecture more easily. If you had any doubts about this being a legacy, I think the sheer size and design should confirm that this is in fact a legacy, the home of one of the big 6 bosses Miyazaki talked about. I'd also like to take this moment to compare this image against the castle shown here in the gameplay trailer, and I do not believe that these are the same castle. The massing of these two buildings are different, and there are just too many architectural details that do not align. For instance, the castle featured in the latest shot has this large domed piece that you cannot see anywhere in the castle shown in the gameplay trailer. That being said, we can see a tiny bit of another castle on the side of this mountain in the distance, so maybe that could be it. Note that this mountain is probably not the mountain shown here in the gameplay trailer, as the silhouette more closely matches this mountain in the distance, which would put it behind and far in the distance from this new image. Wrapping this up, I'd like to point out a few details I noticed in this latest shot. There is some kind of man-made bowl-like structure in the ground over here. And I love how these jutting tombstones conjure an idea of how you can get up there from below. And with the ruined church up the path from here, I wonder if this bowl structure and tombstones indicate that this area was once a cemetery, and this bowl is a fountain or other decorative element. And speaking of the ruined church, I think there is something to this place. I don't think it is a legacy, but it is very easy to see in the distance and is even featured in the key art for the game. I think it is a good candidate for a potential dungeon. Speaking of potential dungeons, the Misty Forest below is just littered with ruined buildings and structures that look ripe for adventure. It is also admittedly filled with some copy-pasted trees, but keep in mind that at this distance it is a low detail model showing, and other shots of forested areas from the gameplay trailer look superb. Looking out into the distance in this valley, we see the broken bridge leading to the castle, which we have seen before in the gameplay trailer in the background behind the walking building, where you can even spy the ruined church in the distance. Over on the other side of the castle, we see an increasing number of dead-looking trees, which could indicate a transition into another area, and we can faintly make out the ridgeline of distant hills. And there you have it. This is what I picked out for this image. Let me know if there's anything you noticed that I missed, or any other thoughts you may have about the contents of this shot. Now there's a small tidbit of news I wanted to share before wrapping up this video, and that is that Bandai Namco US shared their schedule for the New York Comic-Con stream that they have planned for October 9th, and as I suspected, Elden Ring is not listed. I never thought that this would be the place to premiere any new Elden Ring content, but I'm a bit surprised to see it totally absent. Perhaps they will run the Summer Games Fest trailer as filler between some of their listed events, and they simply didn't want to mark it on the calendar because they know that the community would come rushing in and get their expectations up if they did. What I do know is that there is plenty of George R.R. Martin fans at New York Comic Con who might be interested in the game he's involved with, so hopefully they spread the good word there in some small capacity. Once again, it is 111 days until Elden Ring comes out, and now we are in October. October seems like the time to get people interested in and pre-ordering Elden Ring. And when any news or information comes out, you can be sure that I will take a good hard look at it in a video. If you'd like to stay up to date, please consider subscribing, as Bamco is much more likely to let me into their Creators Club if you do, and I will be able to provide even more information. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like. The algorithm loves when you do that. Until next time, thanks for watching.